little quick podcast live deal. I got to wait on some things before I can go to work, so might as well knock one out just in case I can't over the next few days. So I'm watching Timcast IRL. Not a big Tim guy, Tim Pool. He's not my favorite, but every once in a while he covers a few good topics. And not that this is like the game changer, be all to end all type deal, but he's covering an interview that was done on Sam Harris, which is a philosopher. And the philosopher Sam Harris is trying to get people to understand, to come over to his side and say that, look, what the left is doing as far as censorship and some of the conspiracy things is okay, as long as it keeps Trump out of office, that we are okay with it and we should allow it to happen. And then the interviewer goes on to say, so you're okay with a conspiracy to stop a candidate from being elected in a democracy? See, and he kind of starts to stumble over his words here at this point. And here's the thing. He's not lying. The left truly believes that the censorship, the what they would consider fascism, if it was being done to them, but it's okay when they do it. They truly believe that what they are doing is okay. And they also believe that Trump being elected again is the equivalence of the end of the world. Now, we've seen the damage that the Biden administration has done. This bill that they just signed into legislation with the IRS enforcement being doubled and $78 billion being allocated to them. You understand that whole entire bill is $600 billion. That means that your children's children will be paying this off. Not only that, but it is titled, it's actually the Build Back Better plan. So for whatever reason, even some Democrats agreed that the Build Back Better plan was a bad idea. But all they had to do to actually get that bill to pass was to change the name, because Build Back Better is scary to the majority of Americans because they know what the end game is to this idea, this ideology of building back better. They see what's going on in Canada and in Europe, and they know where all this leads at the end of the day. So what they did to get this passed is to rename it to Reducing Inflation Act. In all actuality, it does not reduce inflation, but only 0.1% every year. What it does is it raises taxes on the middle class. It enforces the or gives the leverage for the IRS to enforce audits on every person in the United States every 2 years, arms them as if they were some type of enforcement agency, which I guess that you could technically call the IRS an enforcement agency, but they had no means to really back that up as far as like on a violence scale. But now they will. And I think what they're doing with the pictures and the videos going around of the IRS agents in the wheelchairs and some of the more petite women, and absolutely no training or knowledge about firearms. I think this is actually a psyop. I think they realize that what they did to the IRS is absolutely tyrannical. It should have never been done. It's $78 billion on top of how many ever billion dollars we just gave to Ukraine, on top of the rest of the $600 billion. That's going to do absolutely nothing but destroy middle class Americans for years to come. At this point, I think what their game plan is to ruin the United States to the point that even if Trump was to be reelected in 2024, it's not going to matter because the damage will have already been done. There will be so much chaos and debt and turmoil that it's going to be near impossible to recover from. Not even the most intelligent people, all being elected to political power, would be able to fix this. And I was speaking with my dad, and I think a lot of Americans, what they thought was crazy 6 months ago, is starting to be the norm. Your normal everyday American is starting to realize that we are going to have to forcefully remove these people before they destroy our country. Yet, even when I talk to my dad, he's worried about me saying it out loud. So it is becoming commonplace to know that the only way out of this is to forcefully remove corrupt politicians. But we are still scared to say it out loud. Does that sound like a free republic to you? It doesn't to me. I truly believe that that is the only route that is going to be able to turn the ship around in a way that we can retain somewhat of a resemblance of what America used to be. So now we have to get the everyday normal American to understand you agree. We are so far gone, and they are going to continue this way to make sure that no matter if Trump is elected the next presidential election or not, he will not be able to save this country because they have fucked it beyond repair. So we can't wait that long. So now we have to make this, and it's easy, okay? Well, I don't want to say it's easy, but it is something that the sooner we start doing it, the better. The more we start talking about it out loud, the more comfortable people become with it, and then we can actually start to develop some type of plan against or amongst civilians to actually get something done. And we've done this in the gun community to some extent. 10 years ago, for your average American citizen that had not served in any military capacity, it was not normal for them to own weapons like AR-15s. It was not normal for normal civilians to go and seek out training like CQB and other tactics that you would only imagine you would need for military missions and mission sets. But now we see civilians on a huge scale seeking out that training, buying up those type of firearms to the point where the AR-15 is the most common firearm in America. Not only that, but now civilians are buying gear like plate carriers and armor and chess rigs, and all types of other things. And that didn't happen overnight, but how it happened was people began to discuss and talk about it every day with all their friends at the workplace, to the point where influencers were now making videos about it and putting it on the internet and tricking people into thinking that this is normal. It's the same thing that the Democrats have done with this idea of new normal. We can do this as well. You just have to stop being scared. Stop thinking that every time you say we must forcefully remove politicians from office when they abuse and become tyrannical to the point of no return. And this is what our forefathers believed. And I believe it's why there wasn't term limits for all political positions. Because politicians back then knew if they abused the people that put them there, not only would they get voted out the next election, but they could be forcefully drug out into the middle of the street and executed. Tarred and feathered. We've lost that in America because over time we've became complacent. We've began to take on this idea of the new normal for over 100 years, where the politicians hold the power, not the people. We have to reverse this as soon as possible. We have to bring up our kids to believe this because it is the truth. It is what our Constitution is called for. It is what it is there for. And it is the only reason that our God-given rights and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights will survive for generations to come. But with that, guys, I truly think this is the biggest goal. This is the thing, if you're looking for that non-violent way to get your country back, this is where we start. We make this the new normal. Or how about we call it something else? We're bringing back the old normal. The Republic normal. We're bringing back we the people. And yeah, I think that's it. Like I said, this was just meant to be a little short one, give you guys something to think about. Hopefully, give you guys the courage and the motivation to go out there and not be afraid that the FBI is listening, that they will storm through your windows from a helicopter and execute everyone in the house. The politicians should be afraid that we're coming for them. In fact, not only should they be afraid, but we should be coming for the politicians that are tyrannical. The ones that have abused us for far too long. You see, the rhinos that went against Trump are slowly getting removed from office. 12 of the Republicans that decided to not stand beside Trump during all the January 6 trials and all the impeachment trials, 10 of those 12 are gone. They have been removed, voted from office. It is time we hold all the politicians accountable for what they did and how they took advantage of us during the COVID response. It is time that we remove any politician that wants and seeks to limit our Second Amendment or any constitutional rights that we have. It is time that we stand up in front of Congress and every politician in the United States and tell them the Constitution is not there so you know what our limits are, but so that you know where your limits are. And the accountability aspect of that is, if you try to reach over your limits and what the Constitution allows you to do as politicians, you will be removed. If you refuse to leave, you will be executed. Because that should be the punishment for treason. And what every politician is doing for the most part today is treason. And the military and law enforcement should stand beside and let the people do what the people are going to do, because their oath said that they must uphold the Constitution. And if they're not willing to fight with us, if they're not willing to hold the politicians accountable along with we the people, then they just need to take a fucking seat. And all the people out there that wish to combat this idea, all they need to know is that it is not an idea. It is the American way. It is the way that things were meant to be. It is the way that we will destroy their new normal. It is the way that we will reverse this $600 billion bullshit legislation. And any politician that stands in our way will reap the consequences of it. Don't be afraid to make politicians afraid, because they should be. I love you guys. Stay safe. Stay prepared. God bless America first. Peace, y'all.